It's your boy J16. I'm in a good mood today. You know why I'm in a good mood today? It's because I'm about to start my fucking podcast. Yo, you really ready for some hot stuff? Definitely check out the Rhythm and Poetry podcast. Before we get started, I just want to give everybody a shout out to everybody who was always there for me, pushing me to do this, man, for years, talking to me, yo, Jay, you gotta know everything about hip hop. You gotta definitely put a podcast out. And I'm so glad because at this moment, I feel the best I've ever felt. I'm in the best shape of my life because I'm starting this podcast. I talked to my younger cousin the other day. He's doing big things out here in New NY. And he just put the battery in my back after the conversation with him. So shots out. You know who you are. You listening to this. So before we get started, let me give y'all the concepts behind Rhythm and Poetry and why I feel like this is something that you should definitely subscribe to. So, Rhythm and Poetry, where it comes from, what's the concepts behind it, and everything behind the reason of starting something called Rhythm and Poetry. I was really going through a lot in like early 2000 and last year, 2022, right? If y'all listening to this 2025, 2022, it might be a little dated, but one of my biggest challenges I was having, what was my purpose? I didn't have a full understanding of that. So I created these 4 words, right? And I went around and asked people, and you can ask yourself this to see if it might be something to help you find what your true purpose is in life, based off of the conversation that I had with people asking them these 4 words. They were, what was my like? What was my love? What was my purpose? And what was my passion? And it's deep, right? Like, love, passion, purpose. So anybody that knows me, I ask lots of different people. I was like, yo, what do you think I like to do? Everybody comes out and says the same exact thing. Boy, you could design, you nice as hell at designing. And that's what I do, right? I've been doing this since a young little one. For my people in Florida, I'm a young jit, right? I've been out here designing. The craziest thing is, getting back to the aspects of hip hop, right? My love of design came from tagging, right? Bombing, grafting. That was where the love came from. Pure graffiti art, right? And because of that, I saw the intro that like people around my way that was ill bombers like Deuce, man, Diesel. These people would do these crazy murals, and I would be like, yo, I'll be so amazed by them. So I wanted to know how to do things like that because I had a love for looking at those murals. And I learned it, right? They taught me how to tag. They taught me how to make sure that when I spray painted the right way, the right angles and things of that nature, I didn't have the drip effect and all these things I did not want my tagging to look like. And if you from back around the way, ARS, that's me. You probably haven't seen it in a while because they just gentrified everything. But back in the day, that's where I learned the aspects of the first foundation of hip hop is from tagging. My mother, seeing that I had a love for joy, not doing criminal activities or things of that nature, she put me into art programs and art classes to fully understand the concepts of what art was, right? So I learned how to draw, like basically do still lifes and using different types of paints from tempera to watercolors. Also down to just pure drawing with any medium, whether it's color pencils, regular pencils. And this is prior to everybody having tablets now and doing it. So because of that, I was really good at it, won lots of awards, ended up getting scholarships to go to some of the best schools in the nation to do art. Went to school, did art, so was no money in this. Getting back to what my likes and my loves are, we'll talk about this no money in it aspect shortly, but so was no money in this, and I decided to move into something called designing and pure graphic design and web design, anything. And as time went on, that design moved into development. I learned how to program. I learned how to develop apps and things of this nature. It ended up working at some of the top 100 Fortune 100 company in the world. Everything in my life was moving into a trajectory of being really successful, and I'm still in that same trajectory. The aspects of why I went down this road of art and not the road of hip hop is where we're at right now, at this cross point. Art was my life, right? Design was my love. So reasoning behind it, it's just, that's what it was at that time. But one thing, as I went back and asked people more about this like and love concept, is the other thing that came in the same term of like and love was money. Truly. People would say, yo, Jay, you like to make money. Yo, you love to make money. Yo, you business all day long. For my Capricorns out there, we know this is a problem for us. It messes up probably all our relationships. But the focus on getting money and not being broke. Shout out to Puffy. I just listened to a dope thing he said about getting money, man. Hove, all these people, they inspire me from a rapping concept. Like, yo, if I'm gonna do it, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Tying back to hip hop, as we'll get to the mindset of where I was and why I decided to take so long to finally go down this road into what I truly love to do. So, my like and love is art. My like and love is getting money. Hip hop, I always looked at it as a hobby. Like, it's no problem with anything you do in life. But if it's a hobby, and you ain't making no money off of it, just in my opinion, why don't just call it a hobby? Don't call it no job. Don't call it anything. It's a hobby, and we all have hobbies. And I always looked at hip hop as a hobby. Like, I liked hip hop. Never thought I could be in hip hop. At times, grew up, was a rapper. People that know me, J16 Bars. Shouts out to everybody that heard me back in the day rhyming. These were the things that I did, and it was all centered around hip hop. Now, since my like and my love was getting money, and my liking and my love was art design, hip hop was always on this back burner mindset. But it was very, very interesting when I decided to ask people what my passion was. What am I the most passionate when I talk about it? I will talk your ear off about this. Even if you don't ask me to talk about it, I will talk your ear off. I will say things, play stupid, just so you can argue with me so I can have a good debate. And when it came to it, every single person that asked that question about what my passion was, they said was hip hop. And I started really going deep into myself and seeing what was the reasoning behind hip hop meaning so much to me. I don't know if it was because I'm from Jersey, mother's from New York, dad's from Jersey. My whole life have been going back and forth from the tri-state area. Spent summers all through New York, New Jersey. Had lots of experiences in this area. Knew everything about it from a young kid. Learned every aspect of my life from the aspects of growing up in this region around hip hop. I didn't know if it was just a reflection of just growing up here, or it was a reflection of my culture, or it was a reflection of things that I saw people in my neighborhood doing, and I was like, yo, that's cool, and I want to do it too. I didn't know what it was, but I knew it gave me a different type of feeling when I heard it, when I listened to it. When you heard a track from Mobb Deep or Nas, these heard earlier tracks from KRS, and when he was battling MC Shannon, like things of this nature. When I heard this stuff, I was like amazed by it, right? And because of that, I started to really truly understand that everything around me, I pushed towards art and design with a foundation of graffiti art. The only reason I moved forward with art and design was because when I was young, I heard that if you are good at something and you like doing it, you'll never work a day in your life. You will always be profitable from it. And because of that, I decided to only focus on art and design, because I knew very strategically if I just was really good at that, I could move forward and be really successful in those fields. Now, some of y'all are talking, well, you could have been an engineer, you could have been a rapper, you could have been a DJ, you could have been anything. Now, truly, I could have. I think because maybe graffiti art was what brought me into hip hop, I was always focused on that part first and moved down, and I saw that it was a way easier trajectory towards getting really paid that route than down the road of music. I didn't see any trajectory in that getting paid. Like Biggie says prior to that, now it's like the line should be changed, but the earlier line, either slinging rock or got a wicked jump shot. Now it should be like you either slinging rock, got a wicked jump shot, or can write a dope hook. Like that is the only thing people focus on growing up in the hood. Like that's it. So because of that, I never saw no money in that. There was no point for me to touch the whole aspect of music. It wasn't. There was no money in hip hop. As much as y'all get money now, it wasn't no money. Now is money in it. That's why I'm doing a podcast, right? It makes sense. But before it wasn't. When I understood that my passion was hip hop, I understood that the road that I've been going on for so long needed to change the trajectory and move into a different direction. Because the last part of the 4 words was purpose. And this is where the part of it really fucks people up. The purpose part is where you really start questioning and asking all your existence, what is your purpose? Like, that's the one question we ask ourselves the day we come out the womb, right? What's my purpose on earth? And for me, truly understanding that my passion was hip hop, the foundation of my love and my life through art came from hip hop. My purpose has to be tied directly into hip hop. And because of that, I decided to create rhythm and poetry. Now, what's rhythm and poetry? Rhythm and poetry is going to mean a lot for lots of different people, but overall, the acronym for rap. Rap is the part of hip hop we truly only kind of focus on, right? We don't listen to the other 5 elements: the breaking, the popping, the graffiti, and the DJing, the beatboxing. We only focus on rap. So because of that, rap has become the forefront of it. And the acronym for rap is rhythm and poetry, right? Now, shouts to Lupe Fiasco. Dope. If you get a chance, check out the video he does. I forget what college is at. He's like, it's Lupe, right? He's doing some dope professor stuff. And he's having people say what's the acronym of rap mean to them. And it's just really cool. So if you get a chance, check out Lupe Fiasco's definition of how he breaks down rap to, I think it's like the University of Illinois. But when you get a chance, check it out. It's definitely a dope video to watch. When I think of it, right, rap being an acronym of rhythm and poetry, it was only right for me to name my idea rhythm and poetry. Now, people will say, why you spell it wrong? Well, the concept of the word rhythm, all for my West Indians out there, my Jamaicans, everybody, Shatas, whatever you want to call yourselves. Rhythm is the patois explanation of rhythm, right? It's the way it's translated. And because Kool Hercules is the quote-unquote forefather of hip-hop, he created the concept of hip-hop. Now, we can keep going down the line. Yes, there was Jocko, there was The Last Poets, Gil Scott-Heron. There was tons of people that were doing this version of hip-hop prior to that 1973 that we quote-unquote say is the year that Kool Herc had the birthday the birthday party in the alleyway at 18. I don't even want to lie to y'all. I can't remember the exact address. I think it's 1864 Cedric Avenue. But if you get a chance, you come to New York, go to the Hip Hop Museum. It's right there. So you'll get to probably in your time go stop by the location where it was started at. When he decided to have the birthday party for his sister in the school, in the lobby, that's where it was started, and I decided to pay homage to him. The reason I decided to pay homage to him is Kool Herc was Jamaican. Kool Herc being Jamaican, I always said a Jamaican created hip hop and rap, right? So I want to pay homage to the Jamaicans by making the terminology of the first word rhythm and poetry. So that's the concept of why it's rhythm, not rhythm and poetry. Now, what was the vision and pureness of the concept of rhythm and poetry? Well, I asked myself, and I wrote it down so I could clearly remember it. Is hip hop the problem or the solution? Now listen to me. Is hip hop the problem or solution? Or maybe it's both. They allow us to promote hip hop because the music exploits the negative aspects of us. That's why it has been around for so long. If we consistently push positive aspects of it, it would have never lasted. Now, listen to what I just said. When you think of hip hop, all we do is exploit the negative aspects of being black. We say, oh, it's talking about our foundation, where we grew up in, and that's my neighborhood, and whatever. Or this is the things I did. It's me, you got to reflect on my past. You could complain about the raw deal you got in life, dog, but don't expect those complaints to get you anywhere. The understanding of speaking, the voice for the voiceless of what goes on in the neighborhoods, in the communities that we have grew up in, has always promoted the negative aspects of it, because unconsciously or consciously have already been conditioned to only talk about the negative aspects of our communities, because of the fact that we're constantly in a survival mode, in a survival aspect, because they removed all the resources out of our communities. So to make yourself feel tougher, you want to talk about the things you did. It might not be right, but it also gives you this aspect of I'm tougher. So if somebody tries me in these neighborhoods that I grew up with, that I'm just trying to survive in, they will second guess it, because the words I say out my mouth is showing the aspect of me being tougher. It's nothing wrong with it. It's an unconditional bias that we have, and we don't truly understand it. So I'm not really writing no opinions on either sides, but I just wanted us to have a full open conversation of what hip hop was. I'm a lover of hip hop. I love every aspect of it. But if we're talking the truth about it, we are in an art form where we call the men niggas and the women bitches. That is true, right? We can't lie about it. So is it the problem, or is it the solution? Or maybe it's both. And that's why rhythm and poetry is going to be a deep thing if you follow me. Because we're going to understand that it's both. There's nothing wrong with it being both. Because we have something that no other culture has in the whole world. We have a culture that's a foundation of love, a foundation of connection. And we can speak to each other in a way that nobody else. We create slang that travels around the world, that is showcasing every continent on the planet. That is African Americans' culture. That is the hip hop culture. And that's what hip hop has truly, truly did better than any other art form. So, getting back to it, the reason it was able to stay so long is because it constantly pushed the negative aspects of the black culture. Remember, Public Enemy leads to NWA. Remember, early stages of hip hop, it wasn't like this. Truly, hip hop would have never lasted so long if it wasn't for the fact of the message by Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel. Prior to that, you just had Curtis Blow, Houdini, groups like that. I was like, these are the breaks. Everything trying to play off of the aspect of disco dying down. They needed to play music in the clubs because all these disco clubs are shutting down, and hip hop took over those disco clubs. We truly understand that in the early stages of hip hop, we wanted to make it sound similar to another dancing form of music. We had house, we had disco, we had other forms of music, but hip hop wanted to make sure it stayed in the realms of dancing. There was nothing wrong with that. Sugar Hill Gang made the first hit, right? And it was all about dancing, right? Hip hop, hippity hippity, like that was it. But Grandmaster Flash and Melly Mel gave us the message that allowed hip hop to have a voice, to be storytelling. And when that storytelling decided to show the world that it's not all dancing all the time, because the way and the conditions that the United States has put on our community, we have to talk about it. It's not something we can brush under the rug. The way we living out here in the South Bronx is crazy. We can get into the aspects of how that happened, but overall, understanding the New York City school department closing all the arts programs, and the kids that grew up in New York City having to create a new form to express themselves, since they got rid of the arts programs. They got rid of the dance. All arts and creatives. Think of it. Theater, the breakers. You can't dance inside. You want to get some cardboard, break dance. You got the bombers. They got rid of the art. You can't paint, so we're going to paint on the wall. You got the musicians. We can't play the trumpet. We can't play the sax. All right, cool. We gonna cut songs from original songs like Queen and Stylistics and the Delphonics and groups like that, and early rock bands like the Eagles, and take those songs, chop them up, and then battle with those songs. The Apache, one of the most classic most sample hip hop songs of all time. That was where the aspects come in. And we're gonna have DJ battles in the park because we don't have areas and outlets inside our school that we could play the instruments. And then the last was the MC, master of ceremony. They were the hype men. And as time went on, they grew to be the rapper. And and when you don't got none of it, and you don't got nothing to make any music, you use your voice. And that's where you get the beatboxing. Some of the classic beatboxers through time, from the Dougie Freshes to the Biz Marquis. And to be truthful, in my honest opinion, I feel like that led to the beatboxers are now the hype man. Right? I feel like the rapper has a hype man, and that's who the beatbox would have been. And the beatboxers are people like the DJ Khaled's. You know, if you think about the earliest stages when we had the people like Flavor Flav, right? These were the people that hyped the rapper. So we go down this road to understand that the elements of hip hop and how hip hop started and why I created rhythm and poetry based off the elements of rap. We truly understand that the reasoning behind us creating this form was because of the early stages of hip hop being truly positive to tell a message. And then when money was made and money could be made in this art form, we moved to labels, Ruthless Records, Interscope, Sony's, the majors coming in is telling us, you know, Jimmy Hella to Eazy-E, speak your voice, tell what's going on in your neighborhood. And when we get a late 80s movement in New York, Stop the Violence, and groups like the Native Tongues, and all the rappers at the time, growing up, we didn't look at people that was on crack like crackheads. I'm 85, 90s, I was it. That came directly from hip hop artists like KRS-One talking to us as kids and saying, look, we need to go back to the foundations of why hip hop was started, why African Bambaataa got all the gangs in New York to come together and make a truce to say, instead of killing each other, we'll dance it out, we'll battle it out through hip hop. And then you get a transition of hip hop moving to the West. There's no disrespect to the West, but the sounds came out of a different types of sounds where it was the same aspects, but only glorifying the parts of hip hop that was pushing the negative aspects of our neighborhood. Truly remember, you listen to a song like Children's Story, the beginning of it, he talks about a kid robbing somebody. And then when he robs this woman, he's running through the park and he's trying to get away from it. And when the cops finally find him, they kill him. And what Slick Rick says in Children's Story is, this ain't funny, so don't you dare laugh. Just another kid died on the same path or whatever. Like, that is what, and that's what hip hop was. It always was telling you a storyline that you shouldn't do, and then following off on why you shouldn't do it and moving. Even when you listen to MC Shannon The Bridge, right? One of the best diss battles of all times. At the end of the bridge, he's talking about what is the reasons of why we shouldn't do all this criminal activity. Just to get a rep by Guru and Gangstar. Same thing. He's talking about why you shouldn't do these aspects. Even early J. Rue the Damager and KRS-One. Come on, like, you listen to any of their music, it's always talking about why you shouldn't do it. Even for the ladies, MC Light and Poor Georgie. Like, these are songs that they're breaking down of why you shouldn't do it. It's giving you a story first and then telling you why you shouldn't do it. It's the other side. As hip hop started moving farther and started pushing itself more towards the West Coast and things like NWA, they were still having the same sounds. Public Enemy and NWA, very similar groups. Fight the power, fuck the police. Very similar. But it wasn't giving you the other side of it. So if you heard one thing, like Eazy say, what about the bitch that got shot? Fuck her. You think I give a fuck about a bitch? I ain't a sucker. Like, you say in a line like that, but you're not giving the other element of why you should not do it. You're only giving one side of it, and they wanted us to keep pushing that. So because of that, hip hop for so long has constantly pushed negative aspects of it and not pushed the positive aspects at the forefront. It's no problem with it doing that, because the groups that were doing it, when you get the Arrested Developments in the early stages, come on, Arrested Development has 3 of the most popular hip hop songs of all time, and you never hear them. Think about Mr. Windu. Every day, like, come on, these songs, people every day, these songs are classic songs. You never hear it because it was positive. You don't hear it. And you can get all these backpack. We don't gotta hear the positive. We don't. They don't want to play it because in the early stages they only played it, but the majors don't want to play it. And it's no reason to want to play it because it's pushing negativity. But there's always a flip side to everything, and this is why rhythm and poetry is gonna be one of the hottest shits out there. You gotta listen to it. It's because the one thing hip hop does more than anything is it brings us together. And maybe through the elements of it bringing us together on a common basis, we could flip the coin and push love. And we know we can push it because we have seen people in the past come through and do that. We have had people come in our game and do that and been successful at it. Some of the most successful things that happen to us as a culture, as a nation, is we truly know that. Hip hop foundations of mostly every artist out here gets the early artists gets their foundations from an offset of the Nation of Islam when it comes to the 5% Nation. Louis Farrakhan, all these rappers, listen, teaching. One thing about the Nation of Islam, you could say what you want to say about them. Some of the aspects of what they gave to us were self-sufficiency, keeping us all together, go down the list of them, right? But one thing that hip hop gave us, just like the Nation gave us, was hip hop also gave us artists like Tupac. Hip hop also gave us artists like Nipsey Hussle. The reason I said those two names and then name a whole bunch of people is because those two artists were able to talk to every side of the coin and have an agreement upon it. You think of a person like Pac coming out early stages as a roadie for Digital Underground. His first song is All Around the Way Let's Go Down by Digital Underground. He goes and he raps, he goes, kills it. He's coming from the Bay Area. Some of the best rap styles have come out of that area, from the Too Shorts to the E40s to groups like Digital Underground, like tons of other groups, right? You get these groups that come out of it and they push this element of music because of Oakland, where the Panthers started. You get another side of it too that pushes another element of music that's conscious. And that's where hip hop's foundations are coming from, in that area. And Pac is in that area at that time. So a lot of his music in that early stages, when he first started to rap, are coming from the elements of the places he started and ended up at. So you get the essence of New York City when you listen to his earliest stuff with Old School. Then you get what he learned how to do the arts when he went to the art school in Baltimore, where he was in tons of movies. Then he moves over to the West Coast. He goes into the Bay Area. He's influenced by this social justice type of music. Come on, his last name is Shakur. You can get into the understanding of who his aunt godmother is with Asada Shakur, but overall, he has a clear understanding of the consciousness of it. And then he goes through his career and taps into all these different hoods. There's videos of Pac just going to people's house and eating in they barbecues. Like, he has a very unique past and a very unique life, and he was able to talk to every single one of us. He pushed an element of thug life, but on one side, but on the other side, he has songs like Keep Your Head Up. Right? They say the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. I say the darker the flesh and the deeper the roots. That is Pac. I see no change. Wake up in the morning and ask myself, is life worth living? Should I blast myself? I'm tired of being poor. Even worse, I'm black. My stomach hurts, so I'm looking for a person snatch. Cops give a damn about a Negro. Pull a trigger, kill a nigga. He's a hero. That is Pac, right? He was such a dynamic figure in hip hop. He talked to businessmen, he talked to thugs in the corner, he talked to the gangsters locked up, he talked to the young kids, he talked to the women, he talked to so many. They wonder why they call a bitch. Like, come on, he was breaking down so many elements of our culture and allowing us to talk. And one of my favorite hip hop songs of all time is I See No Changes. Changes, right? That song directly ties into such a very finite part of our culture. It explains it in a level that we needed to hear at that time. And I will say, there's always storylines on how it happened. I don't know and I cannot give my opinion because we still haven't found a killer. We have very good theories, but overall, the loss of Pac changed a dynamic of hip hop that it took us a while to kind of start bouncing back. And I felt like that started with Nipsey. Now, Nipsey Hussle, man, I'm going to be honest. Nipsey Hussle, to me, we're going to do a whole episode on why this dude is different. But Nipsey and Pac were two of the craziest, most influential to me artists in hip hop in such a long time. We haven't had an artist since. Those two deaths changed the dynamics of how we, as a culture, interacted with each other. We know consciousness. When you hear a person like Nipsey, originally a banger, only talking about gangbanging, the things he had to do. You listen to any of his early ass stuff, from the Crenshaw album. You can just go down the list of his albums. And then he starts slowly changing it, his dynamics of what he's speaking. He's pushing out books for us to read. He's talking about owning your masters and owning your labels. He's talking about ownership of our stuff. He's talking about self-sufficiency. Then he gets deeper. He starts talking about conscious eating and the food and the poisons that we're putting in our bodies. And he's going to do a documentary with Dr. Sebi and things like that. This is who Nipsey Hussle was. I was listening to Michael Eric Dyson talk about meeting him. And Nipsey saying he's so amazed by his music, his wording, right? Because if you know Michael Eric Dyson is one of my favorite authors. I love that dude. I will meet him one day just to have the same conversation Nipsey had. But Michael Eric Dyson looks at Nipsey and says, "Bro, I listen to your music," and that's like just show the dynamics of who Nipsey Hussle was. This dude was different, bro. I said all of that to come back full circle is to tell you the elements of where we are with hip hop has a tied into two sides to the coin. It's the problem and it's the solution. On one side it pushes negativity, on the other side it brings us together. And when we decide to bring us together on love, there's nothing you can do. And that's why I decided to bring rhythm and poetry. It decided to be an outlet that brought us together on love, by also not forgetting the foundations of where we came from as the voice of the voiceless, to always tell our stories, but also tell you the other side of the story, not just the one side, the early stages of hip hop, both sides of the story, the things that Nipsey was doing, the things that Pac was doing, giving us both sides of the story. We are our worst enemies and our best friends. We're black people. You know what I mean? That's part of our culture. So how do we start? And I'm just doing my part. And then my part is the purpose. My purpose, getting back to like, love, passion, purpose. My purpose is love, man. That's it. And love connected with hip hop, bro. Could bring people together with hip hop. Then love is something that could join us. Not to forget our foundations, but to also know that we come from slavery. We are middle passage. We have so many dynamics of our culture. But one thing we have that a lot of cultures don't have is an element of undivided love and family. That's why we call our boys bro. Cuz, fam. That's how we communicate with each other. That is us. Love, trust, family. And that's why rhythm and poetry was created. I like hip hop. I love hip hop. I am passionate about hip hop, and my purpose is hip hop. Follow us. Follow us for this route down this road where you're going to learn about the dopest hip hop restaurants, the dopest hip hop the clubs, the dopest hip hop spots. Everything centered around hip hop. I will be traveling around the world, giving you visions of hip hop. I will be giving you dynamic stories of hip hop. Every element of hip hop, I will be breaking down for you in every element of it, all centered around love. Because always remember, if it's a vibe, it's a vibe, and it's always a vibe when hip hop is the vibe. Thanks for listening to this first episode. There's gonna be lots more that I'm gonna be putting out. But if you really, really want to vibe with me down this path, definitely hit the subscribe button. And we're gonna go from there. This first one was kind of going up and down to give you backgrounds and stories of it. The next episodes I'm gonna have more in detail different areas about hip hop and where hip hop is gonna be going in the future and the different elements and the things I've done through hip hop. But for now, just wanted to give you that background. So if you really vibing for this, definitely check it out. And it's lots more to come. Thanks again. Peace. From the Rich Homie Quans to the Dom Kennedys to Toby's, man. Toby's one of the dopest artists out right now. The Westside Boogie, Larry June, lots of different artists that are coming out of the 2013 to 2023. The New York sounds coming out of like the Dave East and the Griselda boys, even moving more to the West Coast side.